Hey nerds, and welcome back to Theories and Conspiracies. This is episode 6. This is taking place after the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 6, titled FZZT, or VZT, whatever you want to call it. So, we had a break last week, but that's given me some time to think, and I think we need to talk more about what an LMD is. What is a life model decoy? Now, there was some other stuff. There was one other thing that needs to be discussed from this episode, and that's Melinda May. So we'll talk about her first, but then we're really going to spend this episode on breaking down what an LMD is, because I think there's some confusion out there on the internet about, well, why was it Coulson able to pass his physical and all. We're going to get into that. So first, Melinda May. We had one line from her when she's talking to Coulson at the end of the episode, where she's sympathizing with him about basically dying or coming that close to death, all this stuff. And it gives us the impression that the reason she pulled herself out of the field is because she got hurt, maybe not necessarily to the same degree as Coulson, but very close. She had one of these life and death hanging on by a thread situations, and it was too much. She had to walk away before she permanently died. Now, this could also explain why her and Coulson have a close bond, because they both have been in that situation. They know what that's like. It's not something that other people can understand unless you've experienced it. So that could account for their close bond. So that's all we got from Melinda May this week. I think that makes the most sense based on that line. Hopefully, I'm sure we will find out what exactly happened to her, because that's where this, her story's going. We're slowly getting more. Okay, moving into Coulson and what exactly life model decoys are. Now, the purpose of a life model decoy, obviously, is to convince everyone around it that it is that person. And it does this by mimicking speech patterns, mannerisms, behavior patterns, iris and retina patterns. It can pass a lie detector test. It's got the brain patterns of the individual mapped onto the LMD so that it can pass scrutiny from psychics and telepaths. We haven't been introduced to any telepaths, but S.H.I.E.L.D. does have a PsyOps division, and with Age of Ultron, we are getting more and more power sets introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so it makes sense that we might be seeing these and that an LMD would pass that scrutiny. So the LMD is designed to pass any inspection except for basically massive invasive surgery, or something like open heart surgery or losing a limb. Anything like that is going to give away that it is not the person who, that it's not the actual person, but it is a life model decoy. The only other thing that can really mess with it is an EMP would completely shut it down. Fortunately, there haven't been any of those. So far, Coulson could still be an LMD. Now, the confusion comes from this physical that he took and passed it with flying colors. The blood test came back clean. An LMD has superhuman speed, strength, agility, durability, stamina, all these things. So it would not have been a problem for them to just dial that back a little. Simmons even said that Coulson was in better shape than a man at his age should, have any right to be in, basically. And that could also be a sign that he is an LMD or something along those lines. Now, the blood work is the thing that really threw people off. LMDs do have blood. Like I said, only majorly invasive surgical operations would let you know that it's not a person, but actually an LMD. So blood could have been drawn. It may have been the same blood type, may have just been made to look like blood, but that blood was sent off the plane. It was not, the analysis of it was not done there, so it would have been very easy for S.H.I.E.L.D. to just send back oh yeah, he's all good, health report, and no one would have been the wiser. Coulson definitely feels something's wrong, and Melinda May comes into the situation to smooth it over, which kind of makes me think Melinda May knows what's going on now. Maybe Fury or Maria Hill let her in on it, increased her clearance to level 8 or 9, whatever you level you needed to know this information. And Melinda May is now the handler that's trying to keep Coulson from finding out the truth of what he is. The LMD is actually making a lot of sense. I know I wasn't too keen on it for a while, but that was just because it was the easiest answer, and I wanted something a little more creative than just an LMD. But as I was thinking about the whole cloning thing, and so this brings me to kind of the second half of this, and clones in the Marvel Universe, is almost never does a good guy make a clone. Almost never. The clones aren't necessarily all bad. I mean, in a lot of cases, the clones come out and are good guys. Spider-Man has some clones that are good. He has some clones that are bad. He has some clones that were bad that turned good. Wolverine's clone X-23, Laura, she is good. You know, it's a mixed bag there, but very rarely do you see good guys making clones. The biggest example of this was from the Marvel Civil War when Tony Stark, Mr. Fantastic, and Hank Pym, who actually at the time was a Skrull in disguise, they cloned Thor, and through cloning and some biotech made a guy who went by the name Ragnarok, you know, big giant Thor clone. That didn't turn out well, and that's maybe the point in why good guys don't clone, is because the clone turns out bad. You know, so I think Marvel has a point of good guys don't do clones. I mean, the other case of cloning is in about the same time, the initiative, the 50-state initiative, there are clones that wear the Scarlet Spider armor. But I'm pretty sure they were cloned by a bad guy who was trying to reform. So again, a bad guy doing the clones, and that whole stuff doesn't work out anyways. It's live model decoy is seeming like the most plausible explanation, especially if you're thinking about a case of we can't have Coulson figured out. It would be tragic if he does. Magic doesn't fit there because who cares if he was healed with magic? He was healed. That's all that matters. And, you know, he's a big kind of superhero fanboy, so he'd probably love a trip to Asgard. No, that's why I was keen on the clone or LMD, but I'm not seeing clone anymore because it doesn't, the history of Marvel comics doesn't make sense with good guys doing cloning. It always ends up bad. Now, maybe that is a point, but I don't see them taking Coulson, a character that's beloved by fans, and turning him bad. So LMD is the way that it's most likely going, which if it is, this could tie into the theory that Coulson will eventually be Vision. A lot of people really want this. There's fan art out there. Some people have done sculpting of Coulson's head as Vision's head, and it looks pretty good. So Coulson could turn into Vision if this LMD thing is true, which ties directly into the Age of Ultron, because Vision and Ultron are tied directly together. Vision is actually, technically in the comics, he would be Ultron's son, so it gets weird. But that's where we're at. That was a little more in-depth background on LMDs, so I hope you followed me. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any theories, let me know. If there's something I'm missing, if there was a line or something that was in the episode that I missed, hit me up and I'll address it next week. But otherwise, I don't think there was much this week, so until next week, keep the theories coming. I'm Brian the Good Nerd from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this is Theories and Conspiracies.